Hey guys, it's Brad with Grit Branded today, and I'm here with a good friend of mine that I grew up with, Curt Crawford. So let's talk about something that's very sentimental to both of us, and then we'll get into the fun stuff. But let's talk about Jeremy. When I met Jeremy, which is your brother, the people that don't know, very different kiddo. And how me and him ever got in the same clique of being friends, I don't know. I really don't know. But it didn't matter what I wore, what he wore, because he'd wear whatever. He was Nirvana. He was the kid that did whatever and didn't care. Mm-hmm. And it drove everybody around him crazy. But me, I didn't care. I just saw Jeremy for who he was. And Jeremy, to me, was very sweet. Mm-hmm. Console, and just did his thing. And I feel like, to be honest with you, I feel like it's a little bit of Pat Crawford to some degree in his younger days. Mm-hmm. And I think the hard-headed, the willingness to later on in life try to get along, get better with Jeremy and all the things, I feel like that's Pat not surrendering, but getting into, that was a lot of me when I was young. Yeah. And it was just a different way. Yep. But I feel like it's a lot of that.
Yeah. I mean, he was, most people don't even know that Clint isn't my brother. So most of the people in the rodeo world, they all think that Clint's my brother, and they don't even know about Jeremy. And that's just because me and Clint were a lot alike. We were rodeoed. None of them know that Darren is Clint's brother. Right. It was kind of the same dynamic. Like Darren was completely different. Really, it was almost like Jeremy and Darren were brothers and me and Clint were brothers. But even though the difference is there, Jeremy liked to ride skateboards and, do all those kinds of things. He roped a little bit. He won one buckle and then never picked up a rope again. Like he roped long enough to go to one jackpot. He won a buckle and he never picked up a rope again.
But he could, though.
He could.
He was natural. Right?
He didn't. Wrong? Yeah, he was natural. He could do it, but he had no desire to do it. Right. Which is fine. Dad supported it. We all supported it. But he was still the same at heart. He still had a strong work ethic, and he still would do anything for anybody as long as you were his friend. He would do anything for you. So he was still just like all of us. He just dressed differently.
Yeah. But in the end, it didn't matter if you're a friend, no matter really what you're dressed like or look like. Right. If you're worried about your image, then you don't need to have friends. Right. You know what I mean? You just need to be fake. Yeah. And that's what I think I've taken a lot from our friendship with me and Jeremy is, I didn't care what he wore. We watched Beavis and Butthead. We did a lot of stupid things and talked about a lot of stupid things at a young age. But, the last memory I have of Jeremy was at the Hunt County Fair, and I can't remember his baby girl's name, but
Kylie.
It was a Whiskey Myers concert. Mm-hmm. And he sat there and me and him talked for an hour. We ain't seen each other in probably 8 years. And, it's like it's a cool thing about friends, you just pick back up. Mm-hmm. When you're really, truly friends. You're just relationships, it's a little awkward. But me and him, we just sit there and talk. I didn't have the time to talk because all that crap was going on, but, it was cool to have that, last memory with him. But I'll never forget some of the stuff that he brought to the table that was just, Delbert was the weenie dog. Yep. I never forget his little call, hey, down here. Kind of like what you do with Momo. Yep. Okay, the same kind of, and Miss Crawford does, it's the same kind of tone. Yep. Those kind of things are great memories of mine, and Jeremy, always has a special heart, or a special place in my heart.
Yeah. I agree 100%. I mean, even through all of our disagreements and arguments and fights and everything that siblings do growing up, I always knew I could call him. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter. And as we got older, we both matured and got better, and our relationship got stronger. And, I talked to him even the weekend before he passed away, and we had talked about him coming over, and he was going to help me build some stuff over here when I was at my place in Springtown. And so it's, it was always that close-knit, no matter what was going on. If I was in trouble, he was going to be there.
Sure.
If somebody, back in high school, I was little. I was a little bit short, chubby kid. And, if there was some older kid picking on me, I didn't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? He was there, and it didn't matter if me and him were arguing that morning. You know, if somebody did something to me that day, he was there. He had my back, and it was like that through our whole life. So, you know.
Well, we had the Salises too,
and we had the Salises.
Me, and it's
Sonny and Eric. I mean, you were covered.
Yeah, and that's the weirdest dynamics of me being the different person. That little clique, I was part of that clique, but nobody messed with us.
You and me both.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's like, and they're half Indian, half Mexican guys, but they didn't give a crap. They'll blow your teeth out of your mouth in a minute.
They wanted to fight.
Yes,
they liked it.
They liked it. Yeah. I can't even imagine how many. I can't even keep count of how many fights we've been in. When Greenville used to cruise Greenville.
Yep.
Or Wesley Street in Greenville.
Wesley Street. Yep.
It was just the goal. Just go jack somebody up and then let's haul ass and go back to Rockwall.
Yeah.
With the pretty girls. So.
Yeah.
But no, and that's what I'm saying. That was just the cool things that we've done. You know, and it was just, it didn't matter who you were, and I think that's what the world needs to understand. You can all get along or be the person, even though if you wear a cowboy hat or you wear a cap, a ball cap, you wear saggy jeans, which I don't care for, but it doesn't matter.
No.
If you're that good person, you're pulling your weight and being something in society, it doesn't matter what you look like.
No. I
Fat,
agree,
large, skinny, black, purple, brown, who cares? But to me, that's the things that matter. And your brother, to me, was an example of that.
Yeah.
And he didn't care. He made his own way. And however people looked at him is what it is.
Yeah.
So you can go with him or stay behind, whatever.
Yeah. But he had a heart of gold.
He did. And that's
through all of it.
Through all of it.
Through the ups and downs, everything, you know. I mean, he always had a heart of gold and always was there to help whoever. So.
Well, I haven't been emotional in a long time. And then when I went to the viewing, your mother just,
yeah,
when she saw me, like, just, he loved you, like, and I didn't even know what to say. You know, my eyes started watering. I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I wish I'd have been here more. I wish I could help you. Like, all the things. But, you know, it was like, I feel like it was, I didn't know how, and what hurt my heart was I was more impactful to Jeremy than I thought I was. Mm-hmm. And I never got to say that or talk to him about it. But as much as your mother was emotional that day, it was like, wow. Like, I wish I'd have been there more. Cause I didn't realize how proud he was of me and the things that, you know, we had as a friendship, but it was pretty cool.
Y'all's picture from prom was the first picture that went on that memory board that was at the viewing and at the funeral. So
yeah,
that was the first one we could find.
I believe he had a purple suit and I had the old school
bolo and
with the big old glasses and funky red hair. But yeah, no, it's some great times. But I wouldn't trade them for nothing. But let's talk about some fun stuff. So we got these rope horses, and we got some great ideals that are going to come together. We're going to have a family meeting in the near future. What I was told from your beautiful wife. But thank God I was in Alaska for 2 weeks to get her to where we can have that family meeting. I was going to give you time to buffer her down.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I had to fly solo.
Yeah. But anyway, so when we're talking about these rope horses that we have together, and you've already shared a little bit and talked about a little bit about why you and Amber do this, and it's the same passion for me, have longevity for some amazing horses instead of just burning them out and hurting them, doing all the things. So we're thinking of all this. So what? And I asked Amber the same question. So I want to hear what your response is to. What is your all-time favorite stud? And what is your all-time favorite horse that you've owned or you've seen somebody own? I feel like she'd change her story after the little incident in Fort Worth when she wanted this stud horse. But we're not going to.
Yeah. I think if I'm going to go back to a stud and it's, you know, in dealing with a stud that I know personally, you know, yeah, there's a lot of great studs out there on paper that I don't know personally, but, you know, I've rode offspring from or something that I love. Dual Pep's one of those. Dual Pep's one of my all-time favorite as far as on papers. I don't have any personal experience with Dual Pep himself. If I want to go to a stud that I've had personal experience, it's probably Frisco's Gatlina that Mark owned. The horse was just an athletic beast back in the day. You know, that was we didn't know a whole lot about working cow horse back then. Dad cut a little and we were roping then, but that horse could do it all. We would take him to the paint horse shows. We'd show him in the reining. We'd show him in the working cow horse. We'd head, heel, calf rope on him, and then Dad would turn around and show him in the cutting. I mean, as an all-around stud and a great producer, because I rode several of his offsprings in the later years, just an amazing horse. Probably didn't get as much credit as he really needed.
That's the part I have a hard time with. I mean, and me being a caretaker and he's in my stud barn, all of you, and yeah, he got a little excited because he's a stud when there's studs around him. But other than that, easy going, chill, sweet. Not your typical stud going there want to kill you and paw you to death or whatever. And I just never understood why he didn't get more.
Well, I don't think we had the knowledge of the marketing back then, though, that we do now. You didn't have the futurities, the rope horse futurities and stuff like that you do these days. And if you take that stud and you bring him back now, like, I think that horse could be a top producer for roping and the futurities and stuff like that, because that horse was super athletic. Good size, good bone, all of his offspring, same thing. All you had to do is breed him to a decent mare, and he threw some great colts. And if I had some of them colts to start training for these days, they'd be the top of the game.
Oh, yeah.
So that's probably the all-time favorite stud. To say what was the favorite horse I've owned, that's pretty hard. I've got two.
That's why I asked the question.
One is still with me, and one is passed. One is Caddy, and I'm sure that may be probably one of the top ones Amber said. That horse, I've had him since he was 2 years old. I bought him off George Chapel, and the day I bought him, he had never had a rope swung on him or anything. He was just kind of green broke 2-year-old. Brought him home, started swinging a rope on him. He acted fine. I was walking by a metal barrel in the roping pen, and I was swinging it like I was going to rope it, but I wasn't planning on roping it. And Amber goes, "I bet you won't rope it." So I rope the barrel. He just stands there. I dolly to it, and I start dragging the barrel across the arena. Never bothered him. Took him to a first rodeo as a 3-year-old. Had to have a last-minute horse change. I'd been rodeoing some, and I was borrowing a hill horse, and the guy called and said, "Hey, I can't get that horse over there." And so I called Amber. I was on the way home from work. And I said, "Put Caddy in the trailer. He's going." That was his 3-year-old year, and I believe he's 16 now, and he hasn't missed a beat since then. I rodeoed on him for several years. Amber's 2 mares got hurt, and kind of that thing of what holds us together. I stepped off of him, gave her the reins, and then she went to roping on him. So he's just that kind of horse. He could make the change. He can do whatever you want him to do, and has taken her all over. She roped on him at AT&T at the American, and I'll put him up against any hill horse or breakaway horse going down the road. So to say my favorite, it's him. Second to that would be Dooley, which was my old hill horse through college, who was an own son of Dual Pep. That would probably be, them two are at the top of the list.
That was cool because Clint, you both had paint horses, mostly roping growing up. And that was kind of the Crawford dynamics to me. Because when y'all went to a roping or whatever, or whatever y'all were in, that's kind of what the matchup was. Or you went out there and just practiced rope in your dad's pen. That's basically what was there.
That's all we had.
Yeah. What was the stud y'all had forever? The Red.
We called him Red. He was 16'3" hands.
He's a big old son of a bitch.
He was big. You could show him in the halter, all the English classes, and then we roped on him as well. He later in life was the first paint horse to ever get accepted into the Warm Blood Association as well.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, when we sold him, the people we sold him to were big into the Warm Bloods, and they took him and they actually got him accepted into the Warm Blood Association.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I just know when I clean stalls, I could just walk underneath him.
Yeah.
I need to get to the other side. that's how big that sucker was. And
I'm
not I'm vertically challenged, so I can't say a whole lot, but at the time, that was a...
But when I was growing up, we had 50 stalls in the barn, and every stall had a horse in it, and 98% of those were paint horses.
It was like a paint factory.
And for the good majority, most of them were studs. And that was actually Dad's kind of key and big ticket for the paint horse stuff. In fact, American Paint Horse Journal did an article on him back in the day. It called him Mr. Manners. Mm-hmm. And we were known for taking the worst of the worst studs. I mean, they would deliver us studs with wire muzzles, on their face, and they would like, don't take it off. We had one that came in one time that had wire muzzle, and I can remember specifically when we got done with that horse, we would take him to a paint horse show. He would be in the middle of the crowd of horses with the owner's son, who didn't ride very well. He was very green, but he could sit on him in the middle of a crowd of horses, and that horse would stand there with his head down. And that was some of the stuff we learned to deal with, and the horses we rode was some pretty tough stuff. Mm-hmm. But, like you said, the horse shows earlier, but we would take 12 to 15 head every weekend. We had a 9-horse trailer and then 2 3-horse trailers, and they were full every time we went somewhere. So it excited me when, you got to come with us, because, that's a lot of buckets to carry and hang and water and feed.
Yeah. I was the head Mexicano, so for sure.
Yeah.
And the only downfall I have with the paint horses is, was it the purple magic or whatever?
Yeah.
People get
the purple shampoo.
Purple shampoo.
Yeah.
I feel like I still smell that in my hands to this day. And how many times they had to braid their manes and tails and all that stuff, like just getting their skin clean so they're bright and pop. Like that was the nightmare for me. But
the day before we left, everything had to be washed. We went through a lot of purple shampoo.
A lot of purple shampoo.
Yeah.
But I remember back when you go to the paint horse world though, you had Boogie Ray, mm-hmm. You had JD. There's a lot of high-powered roping people that were there to rope off these horses to show them. Mm-hmm. I feel like that was pretty cool, the dynamics of that. And I don't know, we actually were at the paint world this year, but I didn't pay a lot of attention to that. But I don't really know how that works anymore, if they still have that injection in the market of having those pros come show those horses that way.
I don't know. I haven't been. It was probably around 2002 that I kind of showed the last bit of paint horse stuff when I was in college, and that's when I kind of ventured away from it. Strictly went to jackpotting and rodeo, and then kind of stayed out of it for a while. Kind of got overrun by the the whole judging part of things, and just wanted to go rope for the time where you're not getting judged. So
no politics.
Yeah, I got out of the politics for a while, but
now you're getting back in them.
Now we're starting to get back in it. We've got a good little group that we're starting, and I'm real excited for them. So,
well, describe outside of the horse shows and the maturities and all that stuff. Let's talk about Amber when I first got back in y'all's life, or we started hanging out and doing what we're doing. Amber was on the road. Mm-hmm. So people that don't know what that's like, can you give a little bit of just describe the day-to-day and how non-glorious it is or how glorious it is?
Yeah.
But I think people really need to hear that.
Yeah. Well, from my side of it, pretty well started in June, about the time like Weatherford Pro Rodeo starts up. She would leave June, whatever that is, June 5th, 6th, right in there. And pretty much I would see her in September when she come home. So they left in June and was on the road through the whole thing. Flew home. She did it for 3 years, I guess. And she flew home a couple times in between. And she'd fly home for something. But of course she'd still enter rodeos back in Texas. So I'd pick her up from the airport, sometimes in the truck and trailer, and take her to another rodeo, bring her home, see her for a day or two, and then she'd fly back out, and it was back on the road. A lot of downtime when they're out like that. But, so day to day, it's, I'm keeping the place up, and I'm keeping all the horses ready, even the ones that are here. So if she does need to come home, or, we need to figure out some logistics and swap some horses out for her on the road, then, I'm keeping them up and going, and, just being a cheerleader for her, really.
Right. But does it pay for itself, or does it kind of wash out?
It depends on how well you do. I think I did the math on it. I'm a very spreadsheet kind of guy. I do a lot of math on these things. And I pretty well figured out the first 2 years she went, you needed to win, 40, 50,000 just to cover your fees and fuels of being gone. That's not adding in truck, trailer, tires, all that good stuff. It takes a lot to make that stuff really make money. It's getting better these days, especially for the Breakaway girls. There's a lot more rodeos out there that have Breakaway. They're adding more money. A lot of them are coming up with equal money to the other events. And you got girls now that are going to the finals with $120,000, where when they first started, you're going to the finals with 40 or 50,000. Mm-hmm. So it is getting better, and it's going to continue to get better so that you can make money. But especially for the Breakaway girls, it's those first few years, it was tough to really make any money doing it. You could justify going out there and you probably break even for the year. If you hit a couple big licks at some of the big deals, then you make a little bit and cover your costs. But you're not going to go out there and get rich doing it.
No, and the other side of that is too, and I didn't ask you that question to dig in your personal business, but yeah. I just want people to understand that these cowboys and cowgirls that are on the road, that's their passion going down the road, but there's an expense to it, and it's sometimes when you miss by a tenth of a second, that means everything of having some people the next entry fee, next fuel, whatever to get to where you're getting to. That's how important some of that is, and that's the way it was in the old days. But why do you feel like they are paying more?
On the Breakaway side of things, the crowd and the community involvement and the participation they're getting at those things is just unbelievable. I remember going to Cheyenne the first year they had it at Cheyenne. You went to the slack for the Breakaway and the stands were full. And it's slack day. It's not even a performance. And they only opened one side of the stands for slack, and it was completely full.
Explain what slack is real quick.
Slack is, so you go to a rodeo, they can only take so many individuals in each event for the performance. They usually limit it 8 or 10. But they normally have, if they have 4 performances, that's 40 girls. Well, they may have 140 enter the rodeo. So they typically have a slack day either before the performances start, or it may be in the evenings after the performances, where those extra girls come in and run their stock to compete.
But they're still counted in.
They're still counted. They still count to the purse, everything else. They're just not running in front of a paid crowd. So you go to Cheyenne and slack is on a Monday and the whole stands are full. Well, the next day was a calf rope and slack, and you go and there was like a quarter of the stands were full. Calf roping's been there forever. And so the Breakaway is
not calf roping. Back in our day, it took me forever just the hints of hearing. I'm like, what are they talking about? But that's the new verbiage, I guess.
Yeah. So the amount of participation, and then the girls that enter. I don't know what the stats were this year, but I know last year between all the events, Breakaway had the top number of entries over all the pro rodeos for the year. And so the amount of participation they're getting from it and the amount of girls that are out there is just tremendous. And so they need to keep adding the money to it if they want to keep that kind of participation up.
Sure.
That way more and more can go out there and actually, make money doing it. Yeah. And so that's where it's going. It's a slow growth, but it's a good growth. So.
And you have a lot of kids that are coming in to the market that are extremely good real quick.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that's the horses that are on too, or a lot to do with that. And that, when we first started talking about coming over your place and me practice roping and playing around and stuff, is, I didn't want to I just want to have fun. Don't even want to try to compete on a level there's just so much competition now these days. Yeah. I just want to have a good time. But watching these young kids, I'm like, geez, that's crazy how fast and good some of them are. Like Justin Ingles' boy, Waylon.
Yeah.
He's 12, 13 years old. He's got a freaking Camaro.
Yeah.
He wanted a rope. I'm like,
I think he's won a trailer, and four-wheeler.
And the little kid's amazing. Like I've known Justin forever, but it's like that's crazy how good that little kid is.
Yeah.
But
you hit it a while ago. It's the horsepower.
Yeah.
You look at the horsepower that these kids are getting on these days. We didn't get on that kind of horsepower when I was a kid.
No.
You know, and that's making all the difference in the world. You know, and social media and the ability to get the training over, you know, people sending you videos and, you know, all the guys out there that are willing to help kids, like, send me a video of your practice and, you know, I'll help you out. And, you know, we didn't have that back in the day. So the rate of progression in your abilities is getting faster.
Right. I agree with that. So let me ask you 3 questions and we're going to close. So who's your hero?
That's a tough one, but I will go with that's my dad.
Okay. I figured that would be it. And number 2, what is your grit?
My grit is the drive I have to turn out a product or a young horse or whatever I'm doing. And this goes to my work, to horses, it goes to anything. I don't want to turn something over bad. I want to turn over the best I can. So that is my grit. I'll never take a horse that somebody says, I need this horse ready by this date. I'm not going to put myself in that position because you can only make a horse, per se, as good as they can go at their rate for a long-term project. I'm the same way with my career and everything. Everything I do, I put it all in there, and I make sure what I give out is 110%.
That's a very solid answer. But for people that don't know, you work for Reader Construction too. Like you're not. Yep. We haven't talked about it much. And you know, one thing that I've always thought a lot about you on this is when you go to work at what, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning.
5 o'clock every morning.
Yep. And you're there before everybody else, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing your thing and drive. You don't have any ownership in our company. You're doing your job. Mm-hmm. And you're okay with that.
Yep.
And you give that 100,000,000% every day. And you do the same thing at Reader Construction that you do at home when you climb on a horse. Mm-hmm. To me, that established is the soul of a man, you know, and how he was raised and how all the bring ups of all the hardships and stuff. That to me is probably one of the coolest things ever, of being your friend, being in business together with you. It's like being to have somebody with that same kind of core that I feel like I carry. And you know, I met your boss one time. He's a great guy, and I'm so happy they take care of you, and you're happy to be there. Like that makes me feel even better because they did, and it just hurts when you know somebody gives that kind of drive.
Yeah.
And they go home, you drive. I mean, you work sun up, sun down.
Yeah.
Every day.
Every day. And when the lights get done, then it's going to be past sundown.
Yeah. But I was saying that. Curt, you gotta understand that's a rare thing in the world we live in anymore. Mm-hmm. And you don't do it any other reason because that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
And that to me is a very stand-up thing and a very solid thing to have as a friend, is somebody that pulls the rope the same way and works hard every day. I really think that's a very admirable thing to do or be. My last question is going to be, so when Curt Crawford is done and we're putting you out to pasture, what do you want to be known for?
Genuine, honest guy.
Fair enough. So when you and Miss Amber, you know, you're probably going to pass away at the same time. I know it's kind of a weird conversation. Y'all going to be burying the same hole? Who's going to be buried on top or bottom?
You're not burying me in the ground.
No?
No.
Cooked?
You're cooking me, and you can spread me over an arena somewhere.
Okay. Well, I'm getting in a hole.
No, I've made that very clear. Me and Amber are on the same page.
I know it's strange to end this way, but you know, it's a common thing. Like
it needs to be known.
Yeah, but I think about it. I'm like, that's just not something I desire to do when I'm done. You know, but there's people that I would have never thought that. Yeah. Honestly. And there's no reason to say, wow.
And, you know, I probably wasn't that way, but, you know, when Jeremy passed and we went through all the arrangements and dealing with that and seeing the process and the amount they charge to put you in a hole, I just said, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, just make it real easy. Just cook me and take me to an arena and spread me over an arena, and I'm just as happy as can be.
Any arena?
I don't care. Put me in a roping pen.
What arena would you desire to have, sir?
Well, it depends on where I'm living, probably.
I knew that was going. Well,
if it was right now, I'd say right over my arena right here in Boyd. You know, that's where we spend that's our happiest times.
Right.
And that's where I prefer to be.
Well, I told my people, so you know, just in case they don't follow directions, which they probably will. I said, wrap me up in some R panel and stick me in a hole in Graham, Texas. That's where I want to be. So for now, you know, and we have big dreams coming. Things may change, but that's my Woosah area, and I love that ranch. But you know, the same thing. Like, don't spend any money on no damn casket. Just wrap me up in some R panel and screw me together, and let's go.
Yeah.
So, and don't buy it. Be scrapped.
Not new art panel either.
Yeah, no. That stuff rusted and used.
Yeah, tear it off an old barn or something.
Yeah, something unique.
Yeah. No, that's a good one.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, I appreciate your friendship.
Yes, sir.
And being business partners with you. And we'll have to do some kind of voting stance between you and Amber of who really nailed it and didn't. I mean, you did a great job. And I don't remember enough of Amber's right now to give you who's who of what that, but we're going to have a voting on it. So just be ready.
You just go ahead and give it to her.
No, we're going to let the public decide. All right, bud. Thank you. Love you.
Love you too.
Each and every Tuesday, catch a new episode of Grit Branded as we dive into stories from all walks of life in the hopes of you discovering what your grit is.